Hello, everybody, and welcome to Capsule Cast Week 3. This is obviously a ongoing series, as you may have heard in the shoutouts during the league match. Thank you to Zem, who is also co-hosting with me today. And this week we have our special guest, Gomel, from the Sentai squad. He has had two divisionals in a row. Kind of hard not to have him in. Why don't you guys go ahead and say hello?
Hey everybody.
How y'all doing?
You may have recognized Zem's voice, but Gama was the second one there. I know it's hard to tell when we just have the static image here. Maybe one day we'll find some fancy Discord overlay, but hey, we all got our own schedules going on. You guys ready to get into match one here?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right,
Yeah,
get it
this
on.
is a big one for Sentai Squad here. We're starting off right away with the divisional. Resurrected Warriors versus Sentai Squad. Both teams are teams people may not consider the most top tier in the league, but both certainly have a lot of strengths to them coming in. Obviously, with Videl out, it definitely looked like a lot easier one for Sentai, but I mean, it was always going to be a battle, especially with the boosts coming into play. So starting with Vegeta versus Ginyu, a pretty great matchup to start. Vegeta taking the early lead, Saiyaman coming in, kind of bringing it back. Goes very back and forth for a good while. Jace coming in and finishing off a few members himself, but Android 18 just showing up again, and you can see by the stats here on the screen that just 68k is not something to laugh at when coming in. And I would have to say, after all this back and forth and it coming down, you'd think Resurrected Warriors had it with a 3-man advantage, but Saiyawoman, apologies, finally decided to get up and show why she has been called one of the best new additions. A solid 72, and honestly, like, had that final clash into Rush B2 hit, it would have been a Sentai Warrior or Sentai Squad win. Zem, what'd you think about this match?
Yeah, this was definitely an interesting match. That N Vegeta starting and getting a huge lead, almost going a lead, was definitely not what you wanted to see on Sentai Squad. So it's nice that Resurrected Warriors seemed to be getting N Vegeta working. They were kind of struggling with him. It's interesting that 18's still doing consistent with her ult. Early Piccolo looks like he flopped. I guess last week was a fluke, but maybe we'll see something different, or maybe he'll wake up again next week. And then Ader not doing as well. Ader is always known as that character who kind of takes his man. So to fall under almost around 20k is wow. On Sentai Squad, Captain Ginyu, I really like that melee build on top of that extra boosted melee. He should have just been able, if it was anybody but N Vegeta, he probably would have tore them apart like, wet toilet paper. But it's N Vegeta. And I was wondering if maybe like the Eternal Life with more of a defense end would maybe flip that match around. Jace still kind of missing with some of his B2s, which is really where the bulk of his damage comes from, so that kind of sucks. But this seems like Saiyaman's consistent and Saiyawoman is woke, so it looks like Sentai Squad is definitely going to be getting that first win soon.
Yes, and now, Gomel, we obviously you're here for a reason. We really want to hear some in-depth on your thoughts on this match and kind of what maybe went wrong with the overall.
Well, in my mind, I was thinking that they would have kept. I was really thinking they would have kind of kept Videl in for this. I thought she might have been initially a starter for them, because I kind of had a feeling they might have benched Vegeta. Actually, I was kind of predicting that just based on some of the performances of what I saw before and kind of who they were facing next. I thought they would kind of go that direction, and so that's why I put Ginyu first, because I was kind of expecting that. Didn't really work out, but I was really hoping that despite that, the AI we did put on Ginyu has typically been a very solid, aggressive AI for him, which he just was taking Vegeta in and just didn't feel like he really wanted to do much to him. I don't know. He didn't want to hurt that Prince face of his. He he was very passive. And the numbers that we have here for him do not reflect the damage he could have done with like any combos of his, with an attack +3, with Master Strike, all that stuff. So it was unfortunate that happened to him. In terms of Jace, giving him that extra boost, he didn't actually throw out a single B2. He threw out an ultimate. That was very unusual for him. So that was not what we were hoping for. If he could have connected with a few, we feel like that would have, just you seeing how close it was to begin with, that could have made the difference right there. Sandman, he's looking better and better, which is I'm glad because in the off season he was having some struggles. Same with Sableman, but that's why we wanted them on the team. We saw the potential in them, and I'm glad to see at least those new additions coming through. And honestly, again, kudos to Vegeta for how he ended it, or because he dodged a throw into a B2 from say a woman. That's not something that happens all the time. So that was really good on his part, and it had me on the edge of my seat. And unfortunately, we just couldn't get the win. We definitely needed it, but Resurrected Warriors, great match. It's definitely gonna be an uphill battle for us going forward, just because that's two of our divisionals out of the way, and we've lost both, so we have to really pick it up from there. But yeah, that was pretty much the match in a nutshell. I mean, I'm glad in the end there were some good performances out of it, and it really all I really wanted besides a win was just for it to be a good match, and at least it was in the end a close match.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can get as close as it did. I think it was I think and Vegeta had like less than half a bar at the end. It really came down to who hit that one big thing. For those that don't know, Captain Ginyu did have attack +2, attack +1 boost, and Master Strike, so basically attack +4. So he could have very easily in two combos done the same amount of damage as he had overall for the week. So it was certainly one that I can see why it was a surprise and a little frustrating. But I would like to say Chase did hit an 18k ult, so the super plus certainly came in handy. But yeah, I think one other B2, and I mean that would have probably done that 10k there. Do you think maybe with the switch of Birder coming in, or would that have been like a big impact change, or do you think your best squad was kind of already out there against Resurrected Warriors?
With how Birder has been lately, we felt it was the best kind of choice to sit him out because he has been throwing out B2s, but he just hasn't been connecting, and he hasn't been as aggressive as he was in the off season. And we felt this was more of an overall strong team and a good choice for us, which is why unfortunately we did sit out Birder, which I hated to do it because in the previous seasons he's usually been one of the highest statted characters. Like he would usually be up in like the top 10 typically. So this is not very typical of him right now, and so we just felt with how things were going, we didn't want to risk it and take the chance, and we're seeing more consistent showings from Ginyu himself, so we felt that was a better choice. But I don't know if it would have been where Birder gets bodied, and that it comes down back to say a woman and.
Uh-oh, it appears we're having a little bit of issues with Gomel's mic right now. Zem, are you still hearing everything fine?
Yes, I'm here. I thought it was just me.
No, I think his connection might be disconnecting a little bit. And I guess we'll just...
Oh.
Oh,
Is it? You hear me now?
yes, sir. We can hear you again.
Did you hear any of that, or was it just
We heard a good bit,
all-
but it kind of faded off into blink.
Jeez. Basically, what I was just getting at was that I don't feel it would have been any different with Birder and based on his performances. It would have probably come down to say a woman and Vegeta at the end. I don't think having him in would have made it as much of a difference. Pretty much based on his previous week's performances.
Yeah, I mean, most people would say Jason Birder are kind of a power combo, but he certainly has been struggling a lot more in these first few weeks. Zem, do you have any questions for our guest on the divisional he had this week?
No, I think I'm good. It was a very interesting fight. I know Sentai just has that win coming up soon, so I'm looking forward to seeing it from you.
Yeah, and do you have any final remarks on the match, Gomel, or are you guys ready to get on to match 2 here?
Behind me, and look forward to maybe some wins in the future.
Yeah, I mean, well, when we get to predictions, we'll get to your guys' team and explain what will be happening. But I think you guys have nowhere to go but up here, and being with how many new teams there are in GT and Cinema and such, there are certainly a lot of matchups where you should have an upper hand going in. So let's get going on to match 2 here. We have Cinema versus Budokai. Certainly a interesting match. Certainly teams that could easily be divisional in this next season. They're both kind of floating around the same spot. Fasha versus Cyborg Tau to start. So certainly strong leads, a kind of defense melee heavy versus a spammer. And that spam really kind of came in with Fasha getting an early lead, but the Cyborg Tau ult evening up at 1 bar before he dies. Nam finishing off Fasha, basically making even match, kind of looking like some of the previous divisionals we've had where it's just even and even. But this is where Cinema starts taking their lead. Turles taking out Nam without losing much and starting to do damage to early Goku. He Early Goku does manage to take out Turles, but Zangief comes in, um, gets taken out, and I mean, just from here, there's just a little bit too much of a lead. And even though they had a very strong finisher in Kid Goku coming in to try to bring it out, and he really almost did. Gogeta just had enough in his tank to finish it out. Another just very close match that kind of had all kinds of swerves. It was really hard to tell who's going to win this one. But Cinema pulling out in the lead, going to 2-1, and Budokai going to 1-2. But I don't think either of these teams are down and out after this match. What'd you think of this match, Zem?
This was a really good match. It's interesting that Budokai chose that Cyborg Tau start when Cinema's a team that definitely likes to start off with Fasha. Turles is more on the tankier side. And it's a good thing that he connected to that ult, because if he didn't, that team would have been a lot farther behind than they really would have. Nam definitely struggled. That tank and bulk on Turles was just so much, and early Goku's been struggling as late as well. Kid Goku's looking really good though. So Nam and Kid Goku are shining. Cyborg Tao is doing his thing, and on Cinema, Turles and Falsha are doing really well, and Garlic Jr. is not bad as well. So these teams were very close to each other. So I could definitely see a match like this occurring between the two. But how close it was just a really great match.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly one that kind of followed suit from match one. Gomel, what did you think of this match, especially coming right after yours with another close battle?
Yeah, it kind of had a match where like one side kind of took that lead, and it was kind of feeling like it was almost going to be in one side's favor, and then it swung back, and then by the end you had Gogeta versus Kid Goku, and it was anyone could hit anybody, and it was anyone's match at that point. Overall, I mean, despite they're showing to be a very strong team, and they've, even though their record doesn't exactly show it right now, it was very close. Cinema has also kind of crawled out from some of their rough preseason, and they've already started to get wins under their belts, showing that they're also a new team, but they're also going to be another strong contender.
Certainly, I would say one of the funny parts of Cinema is that Turles has entered the top 10 in stats for single characters in the league. So you got to wonder if Kaiju's starting to get a little nervous about how well he's doing away from them. But to be fair, they certainly picked up someone good in his place in Nappa. But man, Cinema really relying heavily on Turles Fasha as previous contenders in the league, while they're still trying to get Gogeta and Zangief under control, who they floated around the league a little bit, but they're certainly a lot newer. Budokai having a lot more characters that have been more mainstays. So they got that it factor, that kind of surprise factor of having some new tools to play with. And I honestly, like, this match might have been one where that just kind of got the upper hand. Do you have any remarks on that, Zem?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah, you can go ahead, Gomel, if you had something to say.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say. I was gonna say that Turles has actually been looking pretty good on them. I know in previous seasons, on Saiyans, he was kind of lackluster, but it just shows that when you put a character on another team with different elements and everything like that, sometimes those characters can really shine. And he's definitely showing why he's on Cinema.
Certainly. Now we just got to get some more characters to do some posing, expand some master lists here, right? But I mean, you never know with this league what'll change or not. I know we're currently working with some other modding discords, so. But yeah, I mean, just already there's so many new changes this season. It's like so hard to make these predictions. Do you guys have anything else to say before we move on to match 3 then?
No, I'm good.
No, let's move on.
Alrighty then. Match 3, Cold Kingdom versus Hybrids. Now this was kind of a hype matchup of the week. There's a few, but this was certainly one. Cold Kingdom coming in undefeated, Hybrids coming in 1-1. Third Form Frieza versus Ultimate Gohan to start. I think this was a matchup most people could have predicted starting, especially since both started the previous week. And this was another one where the comeback by a couple usage of B2s by Third Form Freeze after some transformations almost went from like a huge lead on one side to evening it up before some tags came in. We'll say this is the first week we actually got to see Cooler, but Metacooler came in first, and Base Trunks getting in there as well. Two characters this week that haven't gotten any stats yet, so fun matchup to get all four characters out. But Base Trunks doing a little bit of stuff, Metacooler coming in and kind of giving them that advantage. Kid Gohan turning it back around. We got one of the few selfish tags of the week. Certainly a fun one. Teen Gohan shooting a beam and King Cold dodging into Cooler, who just barely dodges it as well. Always funny to see those coming out. I know Zim probably had a fun time calling that live. Teen Gohan is going crazy with Cooler B2 trading wise before getting taken out. And King Cold coming in, and honestly, this was one where up until the end here, it was hard to say who's going to win, and even at the end, there was kind of 2-1, and Ultimate Gohan just managed to barely squeak out a kill on Cooler, and it actually came down to like who got the last tiny touch on the other with these two melee forces in Ultimate Gohan and King Cooler, and Ultimate Gohan just managed to seal it out. He started the match and finished the match, giving Hybrids the win, so both are 2-1. Man, this was I mean, if you look at the damage, 186,000 to 185,000, this is about as close as you can get to damage. What'd you think of this match, Zim?
Yes, this is a really close and great match. And looking at the stats of Cold, it's not like anybody didn't do their job or anybody flopped. You look at it and you're just like, everybody did their 40K, they won that match. But with Hybrids bringing that Eternal Life Ultimate Gohan doing 52, Kid Gohan staying in there for 61, that they definitely covered up for a team just barely not taking his man, and Sword Trunks is falling a little bit. But yeah, it was a really, really close match. And it's interesting looking at these stats, just eyeballing it, you would be like, yeah, Cold won. But no, that's not the end result. And both of these teams were definitely teams that could defeat each other. And it's nice to see some less undefeated teams in the league. Just goes to show how strong and balanced this league actually is.
Yeah, Gommel, what'd you think of this match? I know these are probably two teams you would like to fight later in the season.
Yeah, I mean, Cold's going to be another 3 weeks, so that's going to be fun. But yeah, it's a very close back and forth. I mean, the first 3 matches of this week were crazy, coming down to just like less than like half a bar really in health. And like we mentioned as well, I mean, this was the first week Sword Trunks was in, and he did some damage, but like his ult even was interrupted by
Metacooler Finger Blitz.
Finger Blitz, yeah, and that actually just interrupted it. Otherwise, that might have swayed things a bit more just with the damage his ultimate could have done. But it was kind of a non-factor in the end. But luckily the other members of the team kind of, picked up the slack for him. And again, I mean, despite what you could see with Cold, with everyone taking the equivalent of their, like you had mentioned, the extra life from the Eternal Life and everything else just made all the difference, and they just slightly edged out with just having just a half bar health over like King Cold when he went down. So I mean, it was a great match.
Yeah, I mean, both teams had healing with the third form Frieza getting healing from his transformation. They certainly had Eternal Life and Dende's on both sides. I mean, it's just weird looking at the numbers and seeing that the team with the least damage actually somehow won. But it goes to show that Teen Gohan not as infallible as people thought. And even though Sword Trunks only hit like one B2 and his ult got canceled and another B2 missed, 32,000 still out of nowhere for a character people been putting a tier of his own as Sword Trunks. So certainly was a great match. And I mean, Raccoon being out and coming back in this next week is going to be terrifying for whoever has to deal with their wrath. They probably did not want to lose their undefeated streak so early. Do you have any final remarks, you guys, or?
No, I think I'm good.
No, I think I said most of what I got to say.
All right, I would highly recommend, even if you've already watched it, to watch this match again and just see how close it was. So, moving on to match number 4, we have Derp versus Kaiju, two teams that have been around. Kaiju were originally the Saiyans, and Derp have pretty much always been around since they got introduced to the league way back when. And both had something to prove here. Derp more so. They've had a lot of very close matches. A lot of people been expect them to do a little bit better than they have now. I think they're still a very strong team, but obviously the stats are showing them to be just a little bit underperforming as of late. So starting out, we have Scouter versus Kibito. Certainly an interesting matchup. Kibito being pretty strong for Derp and Scouter being a little iffy. And today he showed up for the first time in a while, as Kaiju would probably say. So a lot of interesting moments, a lot of B2s flying out. A lot of tagging this match. Both characters tagged. Jiro coming in and doing as much as he can. Even had a fancy little absorb on the incoming Raditz through a present and got absorbed. But ended up getting taken out by Raditz. And then Salza coming in, taking out Raditz with no damage taken. I mean, this was just another looking like back and forth, but with Scouter tagging out with 2 bars and having that bigger advantage, you just kind of knew they had a little bit of a lead. Going in and having Scouter come back, going ape and at his last bar, and ulting Salza for 17k. I mean, Scouter just really showing up. And Devilman coming in and even taking out... he comes in, takes out the Ape Scouter relatively quickly, actually. Comes in to King Vegeta, and a couple strange interactions with B2, seeing Devilman's 2-bar 4Q being eaten by a few Executioner beams, but he does manage to hit a nearly 17,000 Devil Might beam against King Vegeta, and had a few more opportunities, hit max power another twice, or 2 more times, but it was just a little bit too much of an uphill battle. And even looking at the damage here, they had Kaiju even had a member not even come out onto the field, so you had to feel bad there. But it was basically a one-man show by Kaiju with Scatter Vegeta almost going elite at 98k. But I mean, even though it ended up being a loss, Derp really showed a lot of fire here. And obviously with Hercule out, people always kind of worry for them, but Salza's numbers may not reflect it. He certainly had a good match. I mean, this was one that was probably hard to guess for a lot of people. What would you say about this match, Zim?
Yeah, this is a really interesting match. It seems like this is the week of just short of elite. Like, if that's not the title, I don't know what it is, because it's not just Scouter Vegeta. There are a couple people who are, the stats team did the stats like 3-4 times, and it's like, no, not elite. And it's just amazing how close that these teams were getting, or these members were getting to the elite. But yeah, this match was. I did not think Scouter Vegeta was going to go off like that. I always thought he's been a little iffy lately, and he showed up. Just shredding Salza. Salza, he was on that defense, that tanky Eternal Life build, but it doesn't matter how much healing you have if you don't have the staying power to actually use it. So he definitely struggled there. It's nice to see Devilman finally do Devil Might Beam and actually get it off on a good respecting character. But yeah, it just seemed like without the champ, that 10 struggles a little bit. So hopefully they can get everybody together, get their ducks all in the line. Usually Supreme Kai is a little bit better than that as well. While Kaiju being able to not have Bardock come in and have Nappa out the week is just wow to be able to do that. So Kaiju is definitely shaping up to be a really great team. Derp, they were almost beat Namek the previous week, so their first win is definitely coming, and I feel like it will probably come soon. So looking forward to that.
Agreed. Derp is one of the other 3 teams that are 0-3, and I forgot to mention Kaiju going up to 2-1 from this. But like none of the teams that are 0-3 are looking like they're really out of it, and they're only 0-3 just because of just one missed B2, maybe a here or there. Gomel, what did you think of this match?
Um, it's unfortunate that it went kind of the way it did. Just basically because Derp had a really good preseason, which is very surprising because they had some great showings in there with all their characters. So it's very surprising that even though this week the champ was out, he was in 2 weeks before, and their other characters had pulled their weight, and so the man coming in, he did connect with it all, and he actually charged up, and he had the potential. Didn't he just decided to fork you instead or something? But it was just when a character that hasn't showed up in a while shows up, like Scouter, deficit was felt throughout the rest of the match, and they just were all the way until the end, and they just could not recover.
Yeah, it was certainly very unfortunate. I think if you ask Kaiju before this match, they would say Scouter is on the bottom list, hugging Raditz in the lower. But I mean, he showed up today, and honestly, you got to feel a little bad for Derp. Devilman goes for a lot of demon fork rushes and fork use that either get clipped on something, or they just happen to block at the last second, or just for whatever reason, it just doesn't connect. And it's like he is so close to hitting these things and getting himself back into it. But they've just been a team that's just been on that unlucky side. So maybe it's just the start of the season goes down, but it's just hitting the trough until they shoot straight back up. Do you have any other comments on this match here, Zim?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good as well.
Alrighty then. So that was match number 4. We have hit the halfway point going into match number 5. So this is another somewhat anticipated match, Earth Defenders versus Muscle. One's a little bit of a newer team, kind of a combination of an old team into a team that's basically never changed. Both teams coming in with a point to prove at 1-1. So it was always going to be interesting, especially with a Roshi versus Yamcha start, two characters who have been struggling in their previous performances. So it was always going to be, who kind of starts it off for their team. And this was just a week that Yamcha not only showed up, but like he left it all out on the field. He's saying, "Hey, I deserve my break." So he came out. Had a great battle with Roshi. Honestly, it was pretty even for a while, but Yamcha managed to come out on top. Broly comes in, ready to do his fun old Kakarot spam tactics. But Yamcha actually tags out and comes in later and hits an ult on BoJack. But in the meantime, Krillin comes in, someone who basically is never seen in preseason and people are still a little uncertain on, came in, had an alright performance, put in the work he needed to do to keep his team kind of in it in the moment. But Yamcha coming in and I mean, BoJack just kind of this was kind of maybe the turning point is he went to max power and he threw a max power or full power ball instead of his ultimate like he had done before, and that just wasn't enough to clean up Yamcha. And with Yamcha ulting BoJack back and then hitting with another Wolf Fang Fist, I mean, it was just kind of the lead was becoming a little too much for Muscle to pull back from, and TN came in and cleaned up BoJack, and then 13 just had another week where his damage wasn't awful. 36,000 is certainly not bad, but it just isn't quite enough to really pull in a performance, especially when your team is as behind as they are, making it to where mid Vegeta didn't even have to step out onto the field. So mid Goku was out, mid Vegeta didn't even step on. Highlight Yamcha just coming in for 1 week. I mean, this match had a lot of potential, and I feel like Muscle did a lot of the things they were supposed to do. It just the damage was just not there. What would you say about this match, Zem?
Yes, this was a very interesting match. It's interesting that Muscle put out Trunks when Earth Defenders is not a team that you really, don't bring your best for, so that's interesting there. I'm liking the build on Roshi. On paper, it looked very powerful, and it's interesting that, the struggling Yamcha seemed like the great matchup. And I think if Roshi would have took out Yamcha, this fight would have been a lot different. Uh, excuse me. It seems like from the stat wise, it seems like Muscle's end some damage is definitely lacking. That maybe some changes could possibly happen. It seems like they're still getting into the groove of things, and Muscle's always been that kind of team that likes to step outside the norms and experiment. So just seeing when their efforts, the fruition pays off. But yeah, Tien Yamcha definitely showing up. I believe was Mid Goku out this week, and Mid Vegeta didn't have to come out on the field.
Yes.
Yeah, so very, very powerful there. Krillin still doing his melee thing and facing down Broly like that was very interesting as well. But no, Earth Defenders are still looking very strong and consistent in muscle. They're just going to pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and they're still a very powerful team. So seeing what they do and bring it next week.
Yeah, you almost have to wonder if knowing you're going against their defenders, it's just kind of a put out whoever you need for the next coming weeks. Gama, what did you think of this match coming in?
Yeah, despite it being pretty much like the Yamcha like Tien show for the most part, I mean, like Zim was saying, Krillin did shut down Broly after he went legendary. If he would have taken Krillin out and remained on the field, that could have been pretty nasty for ED if that would have remained. So he at least took a very dangerous opponent out in the end, and basically, the rest is basically as we saw. Yamcha had a great week. Tien kind of, worked the tag game with Yamcha, and yeah, and it's weird that BoJak going a max power and not ulting after the boards. He typically does, so it was very weird that he actually just opted just for a regular B2. So it could have just been a weird AI quirk. It's hard to say. I mean, Muscle has been fairly consistent, but again, ED has been a bit more consistent. So, and ED even in the preseason was very powerful, and they're still showing that that hasn't changed.
Certainly, I think it's just coming down to such a great last season. Muscles just kind of maybe they partied a little too much, had a little too much to drink, and now they're having to come back in and refine their form a little bit. Because character-wise, they haven't changed, but build-wise, it's changed a good bit. So, especially with this new league, it's just hard to say. You can't just say, oh, why don't they go back to what they had? Because that might even be worse. It's hard to say. So, a lot of promise from them. Earth Defender's been looking strong since the preseason. One of the few teams that went 4-0 in preseason. So, coming into the league, people were expecting them to be quite a team to deal with. Do you guys have any final remarks on this match here?
No, I think I'm good.
Yep, good as well.
All right, let's get on to match number 6. We have GT versus Namek. So just coming in, looking at stats, 0-2-2-0. People might have written this match off pretty quick, and unfortunately, it ended up being a little bit more along those lines. This ended up being the late Piccolo or end Piccolo kind of match. Uh, another character, 97k. This was another near elite performance. He took out 2.5 characters before finally biting the dust. And those weren't choke characters. I know some people talk a little trash on Shenron, but when he gets spamming, he certainly has some strong B2s. And Super Baby 1 has certainly been a character that was looking very strong coming in. So both those guys getting taken out and them only doing a little over a bar against a healing late Piccolo was just not enough. And even though GT Goku finished him off and started doing some work, King Piccolo coming in, that's just another huge threat that's just kind of hard to deal with. Though he did get taken out, or he didn't get taken out, he ended up tagging and not wanting to finish his fight, and it was a tag with a sliver of health. So just everything that could go wrong went wrong for GT. So even with Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta coming in, there was just a massive hill to climb, and Nuova just didn't really have to expend too much on taking out GT Goku and Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. So overall, this match ended up looking a lot worse than maybe it should have, but I don't think this is any indication of GT being out. Just same with Derp and Sentai. They may all be 0-3, but they've certainly shown they have a lot of vigor in them. It's just some teams you got to take your beats when they happen, and it's what can you do pushing through from here. Sentai being a team that, and super happy to have you on today, Gomel, and I think you guys have shown that having insane creativity in builds can be one way to kind of overcome a potential gap if you're worried about that. And GT have been kind of just sticking with the same old, same old. So we'll see if maybe they start picking up on your guys' tendencies. What do you think of this match here, Zem?
Yeah, this match was really ugly. Late Piccolo going off on them like that's definitely not see. And late Piccolo's almost on the caliber of like Fasha, very consistent, very strong. And the lead on Sin Shinron was unfortunate, but no offense, kind of expected. But him going off on Baby like that was amazing. Like Baby is definitely one of the stronger, more consistent characters on GT. And GT, I would not take this as, oh, Baby Vegeta's broken, he sucks. Maybe look at a different AI. Maybe go back to that Majin Buu AI he had in the tag team tournament. But he's still a great character. GT Goku definitely showed up this week doing more than his amount of work in all up in your ankles with that strong melee game, so that's good as well. And Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, this is just, he was facing Nova Shinron. It seems like Namek definitely got Nova Shinron working, so that's very scary. And Namek is looking to be a very scary team, especially in that very scary West Kai. But I know GT, change a couple things. Your win is coming soon. I definitely feel it.
Yeah, I guess, Gomel, what do you think of this match? This is potentially a lineup or similar to if Namek keeps doing what they're doing.
Yeah, Namek is especially with that pickup of Nova. I mean, they even without Nova in the past, they've had some really strong performances. But having him there as a threat, it just makes him even more dangerous. And it again shows here that even though Nova did kind of finish off Vegeta at the end, the damage was already done by Late Piccolo and everyone else prior to Nova. So he was just kind of cleaning up the leftovers at that point. As for GT, I know it can be a bit disheartening when things don't go the way you've kind of seen in your tests, and again, coming from somebody who's been on a team that's basically been kind of fairly kind of at the bottom of a division or the league for a good while, you have to really take every match, look at each match, make some changes if needed. I mean, again, if you're building them a certain way and it's just not working, think about outside. Say, okay, well, let's just see what they like to do and then give them some of those boosts to help them do what they can do best. And even go through the off season, because there was a lot of tests from our testers. Amazing, all the tests they did. But go through those, find some other AIs that had shown well, and try those, because whatever is here right now, and like Zim had mentioned, the AI that Baby had in the tag team tournament, he had he took out like Cell and some other characters as well. He was looking very scary in those matches. So kind of revisit those and just kind of work with the builds, because again, it's still early in the season. You guys could come around. Even the Gohans, when they were around, they lost the early season and they came back and they won the bowl. So just because you're starting off like this doesn't mean there's no hope for you. Don't give up. But that's the main thing I really wanted to emphasize. Just don't give up. Just keep working with your team and have faith in them.
Agreed. I would say starting off bad is not a symbol of loss. We've seen in any sports league, if you watch anything, football to baseball to soccer to really everything, you can start bad and make a comeback if you just keep the effort there, the conviction, the courage to try something new. I know people have joked about Shin Run on a grab build with Master Throw and stuff, but I mean, there is other builds out there for everybody. I think you may have found the right marks with some, and it might just be a simple AI switch, as said. So I know this match ended up being a little unfortunate, but I think really any time you can take a learning opportunity, even from a win, is something that you need in this league to survive. Because there's very few times you're just going to be the Super Saiyans and win every match. Namek has certainly got their thing coming. I know Oasis will tell you in any chat, oh, they're going to lose this week. Oh, they're going to lose this week. It can't last forever. So there's no good start that is perfect, and there is no bad start that is full loss. So, do you guys have anything else to add on then?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good to move on as well.
Man, we're streaming through these matches this week. Who would have thought? All right, on to match number 7. Me and Zem may have a lot to say about this match, may not. Androids versus Buujins. This, along with Cold versus Hybrids, was an anticipated match of some predicted titans of the league coming into each other and going at it. I mean, Super Buu versus 17 to start. I mean, what else could you ask for? That just seems like an exciting matchup. The fans have probably always been wondering what would happen. Well, we found out today 17 easily destroys Super Buu. So unfortunately there, that kind of lead is kind of what they kept with the entire match, and that is just enough, kind of led them to be enough to come over Buujins, who many people thought as a top 3 contender. So there was a lot of good still. Evil Boo coming in, forcing tag. 19 really showed off this week, going even with Evil Boo, many consider to be kind of the main threat of Buujins. So going even for 2 bars is certainly an accomplishment. Cell coming in, and on the other side, Majin Buu going even with Cell, melee-wise of anything, with only throwing 1 B2 and missing, going even melee against Cell is a surprise in its own. Yeah, if you're thinking this sounds crazy, you should probably rewatch the match, because there was some just strange moments in this one. There was a close fight just overall there, but probably the main highlight for Buujins at least was Kid Buu coming in and taking out a 1-bar Cell 17 and 19 before being taken out by 16, but a 3-bar 16 versus 2-bar Majin Buu 16 just had the number there. So if you look at the stats here, it certainly looks a lot better for androids, but I would say overall, like for an anticipated match, it certainly had its moments to be enjoyed, but certainly nowhere near as close as people were maybe hyped for, especially after the insanity of hybrids versus Buujins in week 2. So Zem, certainly going to have to ask your opinion on this one.
All I have to say is wow, 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 because that's all I was saying, commentating that match. Yeah, this is probably my most hype match this week. This is a big one, two big titans going at it. If one could definitely beat the other and definitely top of the league. It was definitely interesting that Subaru just got taken down, just dismantled by 17. So that was definitely a great choice and great counter on Android's part. The water was a big factor. Definitely the B2s were lacking on the Buujin side. And despite Super Buu not doing as hot, everybody else on Boo's did at least their 40k, took their man. And the melee game was definitely there. Kid Buu came and showed up. Cell was just so much to handle. And the match, there were definitely points in the match where if one thing went over instead of another, that the match could have completely flipped around. That's just not how things win. But it's interesting to see how close this match not really came down in the end, but with how much was on the table and how much down Buujins were, that they were able to bring it back and give us a really good match.
Yeah, I mean, Android's coming in 1-1 and Buujins 2-0. This was certainly a match that I think every team can look at and go, even the teams that seem infallible as just the strongest teams, maybe they have their weaknesses, and certainly with builds or just positioning, you can really beat anybody if you set it up. So, Gama, what do you think of this match?
Oh, I think we have a one less undefeated team in the league, so I'm always for that. But yeah, the match itself, I mean, it's what you expect from two teams that are respectively very powerful and can be very scary between each other. And again, even though it wasn't as close, it still came down to one character apiece. Even though 16 had most of his health, still it was very entertaining. I mean, with 19 doing stuff, I was surprised that the ultimate that Kid Buu didn't actually destroy the planet. And I mean, that could have maybe made it a little bit of a difference. Sometimes that destroyed world stage sometimes causes some weird issues with the AI. So that could have maybe helped in the end. So I was surprised because usually it happens when it's enough to kill somebody, and it usually destroys the planet. So, but it didn't. But yeah, I mean, pretty much for everything else you guys said, I mean, it pretty much echoes my sentiments. I mean, even though I'm not with either team, it was still fun to watch them go at it, and especially, you know, androids kind of being somewhat of, I guess, the underdogs in a way, I guess, because they're going against an undefeated team. So it was fun, and I don't even think Super 17 wasn't even in that week either, right? So this was just without Super 17, which actually has been one of their honestly for me has been one of the more entertaining people to watch, especially with his world destroying ball that destroys their stage, and he doesn't really seem to care. But yeah, no, it was a fun match to watch.
Agreed. Yeah, I think both these teams, no matter the result that came from it, are teams people are going to keep an eye on and just try to see and seeing now that androids are willing to do some crazy swaps, having 16 anchor and stuff is going to certainly make teams guess twice. And Buujin's doing the same thing week in week out is starting to come back and bite us a little bit. So definitely an enjoyable match, and I think this just goes to show even the teams people consider to be the strongest in Buujins can still be taken. Granted, androids are a strong team, but I mean, really, anybody could have had this happen, and people would have been like, "What? They lost?" Do you guys have any final remarks then for match number 7 here?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, always feel free to step in with any questions. I know, and this is for anybody hosting or coming into the show, because I can only ask so much. I know we all here are busy and as a volunteers for this league. And slight shill before the end is to please comment down below questions as well, because we would love to add segments and ask more. So moving on to the last match is match number 8, Rugrats versus Royals. We certainly heard a lot from Toshiro last week, the Rugrats coach, on predictions for this match. And I mean, it kind of did turn into a little bit of a slobber knocker of a match, but it came to show that Royals got Glass Cannon Frieza back on the market. People kind of wondered if you'd ever get back to that, and I mean, I guess we just start from the top. Majin Vegeta Cyberman. This was a typical start from Rugrats, and it was always going to be a hard one with the Eternal Life Majin Vegeta starting off, and he certainly got that early lead. Even with Cell Jr. coming in, it just made it very difficult, and Majin Vita actually managed to tag with just a tiny bit of life left. Base Trunks coming in, doing what he does. He's certainly put a lot of effort into cleaning up this week, but Mecha Frieza hit him with 2 ults. I mean, come in to save your ult, charged up ult, then went to 100% power and did a Fissure Slash. What more can you ask? I mean, if it ended right there, I think they would have been happy, but he managed to do even more to the returning tagged out characters and getting that little bit extra. So it was always going to be an uphill battle at that point with Mecha Frieza doing what he did in week 2, and Goten certainly put in the effort. I mean, you can't really be mad. Bros Kamehameha for 17k, and really, I mean, he took out Deborah, a full health Deborah, and brought Emperor Pilaf to barely 1 bar. It was about 1.3 bars left, even though he hit another 16k ult there. So I mean, just a crazy match. 2 Bros Kamehamehas, 2 Mecha Frieza Supernovas. Damage may not reflect it, but I mean, this match really felt a lot closer than it was. Zem, how'd you feel about this match coming in?
Yeah, this match was definitely crazy. The match of the ult. It just sucks that Prince Majin Vegeta was just able to start and go off. That sometimes that might determine the match, just how strong of a foothold you can get in the start, and him being able to just beat on Cyberman, beat on Cell Jr., work on Kid Trunks, and his damage really doesn't reflect how much he put in for his team. Rugrats definitely had the tag game, which was nice, but damage was done by the time him and Mecha Frieza did their job. Deborah and Emperor Pilaf were still just waiting in the wings to do their part as well. And it's nice to see that Goten show up and do his part. He's been kind of struggling on the Rugrats, so it's good to see this week Goten show up. Last week Kid Trunks show up, and it seems like they're very good separate. With the way that those two have been performing, I doubt we'll ever see Gotenks again, if not just for the hell of it. So it's interesting seeing that change in Rugrats, but very good match, and definitely feel that these teams will be pulling off some wins in the future.
Yeah, I mean, seeing a character as consistent Lord Frieza with his ult is certainly terrifying. What do you think of this match here, Gommel?
Oh boy, the Mecha Frieza just oh my god, just seeing what he does consistently now with his coming in death balls or those supernovas, and then he max powers and does it again, and all of his B2s hit like trucks. He has really put in the work and super scary. I'm not looking forward to facing that at all. And even less so, Majin Vegeta, who I feel is such a solid character, so dangerous. His rush blasts hit so hard, it's ridiculous. It's almost as obnoxious as Deborah's rush blasts, and don't want to even get talking about that. But he very strong starter. When Majin Vegeta gets going, he gets going, and he showed that against Cyberman. Cyberman did make the right call to get out of there when he did, but they just couldn't catch up, even though Goten tried. Usually, Trunks is usually the one that really kind of pulls through, being one of their more solid members of their team. But again, Frieza just destroyed him. And yeah, the first void, but the second ultimate, it was like a football field distance. Trunks stood there and took it. That was on him. I don't know what kind of masochist he is, but he took that. Maybe his dad told him to make him stronger. I don't know. And then he got hit by the Fissure Slash and went out. What I was really sad is that Cyberman ulted, but he didn't connect. We couldn't even get to see it. That was very sad. Pilaf kind of came in and he took his man. It took a while for him to do it, but he finally took his man. He got hit by a Bros, but he still took him out. It was an entertaining match. Maybe not so much for Toshiro, because I know it was very painful for him from what he was talking about. But again, sometimes that happens, especially against a team like the Royals, who I'd say is one of the top teams, one of the more dangerous teams. Because you look at all their members, I wouldn't want to face any of them. So, but yeah, that's kind of my thoughts for that match.
Yeah, certainly Royals being a new team, getting the kind of dynamic duo from the departing Majins and Demon King Demorta and Prince Majin Vegeta, grabbing Lord Mecha Frieza off the Cold Kingdom, and then pulling Lord Slug and Emperor Pilaf from the side. I mean, it was certainly, people were not sure it was going to happen, and they were actually not sure Pilaf would even do anything, and they've kind of shown that they figured out builds on pretty much everybody. Shout out to Mecha Frieza hitting almost a max range death beam on poor Cyberman. He put it all out there with his ult and kind of gave up after. But yeah, I mean, this was certainly a match where just had Mecha Frieza not max powered 3 B2s in a row on Trunks, just who knows where it would have gone. Trunks already did 30k even before Mecha Frieza came in, so you just have to wonder if he didn't hit supernova after supernova, causing everybody to just explode in chat. Who knows? So, but I think overall it was a great match. I think both teams really showed what they had. Aurelia was out, Lord Slug was out. Certainly two big hitters for both teams. Both teams have pretty much no super weak character. I know Cyberman stats wise is a little lower, but he's certainly on the cusp of greatness as well. So, especially if Emperor Pilaf's able to get stuff going. So, you guys have any other remarks on match 8 here?
No, I think I said my piece.
Yep.
Alrighty then, I guess we'll get going on to the prediction round. So we are moving on to week 4 here. The first matchup is Androids versus Muscles. It's probably a great match for people, especially if you saw the last league. These two teams fought way more than they should have, partially due to some Tenkaichi bull shenanigans that they both got themselves into. So for my prediction, I would actually have to give this one to Androids. They've recently been on a little stronger run. I think their characters have just been more form and consistent overall, and they don't really have that targetable weak character to say. I mean, with 19 going even against Evil Boo, hard to say, especially with Muscle struggling a little bit with Roshi to get his 40, and 13 just not quite doing what he needs to do. I would have to give this one to Royals. What about you, Zim?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give this one to Androids. Androids are a little bit more consistent than Muscle is right now. It's also on Glacier, and Muscle's gonna be struggling to charge and throw out B2s. I'm gonna definitely have to give it to Androids.
All right, and Gama, what would you predict for the first match?
Yeah, I was going to say, being on the Android's home map, that definitely is a detriment, even though they do have an Android on their side. And they do have Trunks coming in on their side, whereas Android's Cap Super 17. Even though I would like to see Muscle win, I feel like it's more in favor, and that's why I'm going to say Androids as well.
Alrighty then, so that's a 3-0 for Androids, but Muscle's certainly a team that has shown promise, so could go anywhere, especially with Super 17 coming up and being able to blow up the map. So match number 2 is Kaiju versus Namek. So this could be the match that takes Namek out, but I think their form's just been a little too good, and they've shown that they are not the worst at taking out apes. So I would think Namek might just have that little edge coming in. They're 3-0. They might even use a boost to try to stay 3-0. They've used a boost on a non-divisional before in week 1, so it would be not surprising, I guess, to say the least. So I would have to give this one to Namek, but I mean, this certainly is one that could go either way.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give this one to Kaiju just because Kaiju is home. It's their night map. They can all turn. Namek's not the greatest when it comes to dealing with apes if they get into like a melee kind of scuffle. The B2s they can sprinkle in are nice and all, but I could definitely see, someone turning ape on their starter, taking out their starter, working on Nameki's character, and it just all goes downhill from there. So if there's any match that Namek might lose their undefeated streak, it will be this one. So I'm gonna have to go for Kaiju.
Yeah, I feel with especially Nappa coming in, Nappa I feel has some of his best performances on his home map when he's gone 8. And I feel like because they're on home map, like Zim had mentioned, I feel like if Namek is going to lose, I feel like this is going to be the team that's going to beat them. Even though Namek does have tools to take care of Abes, there are some of their members who do have some rushed V2s as well. And if they decide to do that route, that might not work out as well for them. And especially if Scouter shows up like he did this past week, on top of all that as well, plus having everyone being able to possibly transform into a Kaiju, I'm gonna give it to Kaiju.
All right, so we have two Kaiju, one Namek, but I mean, Kaiju home map, I think this is one of the first times we're going to see it with them feeling like they got their characters in form. So certainly a fun match and one to look out for. Starting this week strong too with fun matches here. Moving on to match number 3, we have Hybrids versus Resurrected Warriors. Man, this one I feel might not have been as close week 1, but coming in now onto week 4, it turned into a lot closer. I think that it's really going to come down to who's a player makes it. I think hybrids just have, especially Future Gohan, Teen Gohan, are just such consistent spammers. Kid Gohan's been showing up. They just, yeah, they have sword trunks, but like, I mean, he shows if he can just do his 30, the rest of the team can kind of hold him up. So I'd have to give this one to hybrids. The Resurrected Warrior could easily turn this around with 18 and Videl just doing what they do.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna have to say hybrids. They're just a little bit more consistent, and they have a little bit more of a all-star players over Resurrected. Resurrected, I definitely think that it's possible. They can definitely do it, but you know, King Piccolo, early Piccolo is definitely gonna have to do a couple more special beam cannons than he did. Not what he did last week, but the previous week. I need more of that, and I need Videl to come up and go off like she did on the Earth Defenders to really see them being able to pull this one out. But I can see it, but I'm gonna have to give it to hybrids.
Yeah, as much as I would like to give it to Resurrected, it really comes down to their matchups. Again, they have Future Gohan coming in, whereas Videl's coming in for Resurrected Warriors. I feel like if Videl goes up against Gohan Super Saiyan, and he just starts Masenkoing and doing all those things, I feel like that's gonna be really tough for her because those that he gets those off so quick that even if she B2s, which her B2s are pretty quick too, it would just destroy her. And he spams them so frequently. So I feel like if that's the case, that might make Videl a non-factor if that happens. And if 18 shows up, that could be help them, or if again early Piccolo does as well. But again, I feel like there's a bit more consistency with hybrids in terms of some of their star fighters, and they just have a lot of power coming into here. So it could go to Resurrected, but again, I'm going to also give it to hybrids just because I feel like they have a bit more consistency right now in terms of their characters.
Yeah, Resurrect Warriors certainly could have a character awaken like Kaiju did, but that would have to really be in their cards. So moving on to match number 4, we have Budokai versus Royals. This is a divisional match. We know Budokai will spend on their boosts, so we'd only expect Royals to follow suit. They've already used boosts in matches before, I should say, for Budokai, so it would not be surprising, but I mean, Mecha Frieza has shown 2 weeks in a row now that he's willing to throw supernova after supernova like they're trap shooters, so or genocide blast, probably more accurate. So I'd have to give this one to Royals, knowing that there's no way they're going to have him out in this match, especially with the last few weeks, and just with the fact that Lord Slug's coming in and he's just a tank to deal with, it might just be a little too much for Budokai if they're not able to get him out as fast.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give this one to Royals. I think Royals are gonna be woke. They're probably gonna bring the A off at bad. Being able to just put out Pilaf, bring in Majin Vegeta, Deborah, Mecha Frieza, and Slug just seems like a tall order for anybody, let alone characters on Budokai who kind of have defense minuses. And some of them may not be the most consistent. So this is definitely going to be an uphill battle for Budokai. I'm gonna have to give it to Royals, but if the underdog Budokai beats Royals, that'd be very impressive.
Yeah, Royals are just such a strong team that even if this wasn't a divisional, I could see any team putting money just to beat Royals just because of just how dangerous they can be. And again, with Pilaf out, if that's where they go, I feel like that gives them probably one of their, despite Pilaf's performances, I feel like this gives them their strongest lineup. And I mean, even though they have Ingoku coming in, I mean, again, Slug, such a tank, and he transforms. Even though he's a bigger target, he's actually shown to be really solid. So again, I would love to see Budokai do well and to win, but I don't see that happening, which is why I'm going to just go with Royals.
Alrighty then, so pretty consistent 3-0, but I mean, I don't think anyone here would be the most surprised with a swap. It is a divisional after all, so we expect both best from both teams. So on to match number 5, Buujins versus Rugrats. Um, there is a slight bias in the vote here, potentially. And being a Buujins member, I can't say too much. Obviously, I would assume my team would pull it back. Maju coming back in is a strong member. And even though Buujins are a taller class of people, they we at least plan, but we will see. And who knows? Maybe Buujins maybe pull out a boost or two. Nobody knows for certain. Zem, do you actually want to add anything here? Or
This is going to be an interesting fight. As a tester, I've seen Rugrats versus Buujins plenty of times,
oh man.
over and over again. They've exchanged blows a lot. So to see this when it actually counts will be very interesting. Rugrats are going to be definitely bringing it hungry for that win after their loss, but Buujins are going to be hungry for their win after their loss as well. It will be at Buujins' home, so at least there won't be any like water this time to hinder their charging and hopefully throw a couple more B2s. But Rugrats, Kid Trunks is looking good. Goten's looking good. Aureli's coming back in, so I could definitely see Rugrats pulling off. But I'm gonna have to say that Buujins are gonna be a little bit stronger and more consistent in this run.
All right, Gomel, choose your words carefully. No, I'm just joking. Say whatever you
Well,
want.
well, I will say, you got a team that's basically made of gum, and who loves eating gum? Children. So I'm gonna have to have Aurelie coming in, the demon child, and depending on what she does, I feel like she can really put in some work because we've seen her do that before in the past. And if they bench either Cyberman or Soul Jr., and both Trunks, and then I feel like they're gonna have one of their stronger lineups in for this match. And I do feel a win of theirs is coming, although I would prefer them not to win, being my division. But I feel like this is going to be the match where Rugrats take another win, and that's my vote.
Well, so we have 2-1, but let me check notes. Buujin members 2. Okay, enough said. I think we should move on. Certainly a little more controversial call to make this week, but that will happen sometimes with the rotating co-host depending on availability. So move on to match 6. We have Cinema versus Sentai. This is one I really went back and forth on. We have a brand new team that's been struggling versus a team that's established and has new tools but struggling. And I changed my opinion multiple times, but I kind of think Sentai might actually pull it out here. Sandman and Sandwoman have only done better as the weeks have gone on. Birder's coming back. I mean, he's just always been a threat. You can never count him out. Even when he's doing bad, you just can't count him out. And with talks in the Discord of potentially a strange but dynamic melee build, like there's a lot of factors coming in, and Cinema Zengaia's just been struggling a lot. Gogeta, as we've seen, even when he has the advantage, can almost screw it up. So it's going to come down, can they take out the more consistent members, and I feel like there's just a little more consistency on Sentai right now. So I'm going to have to give this one to Sentai.
Yeah, I can see Cinema underestimating Sentai, probably putting out Fasha. And with how Zengia and Gogeta have been kind of iffy, Garlic's been okay as well. I can definitely see that being their downfall. Sometimes they definitely have some strong, consistent members. It really comes down to how much either Turles/Fasha does if one or the other is out, and really what can Birder bring to the table. If Birder can definitely, at least take his man, then I definitely think Sandman and Sandwoman or Jace or Captain Ginyu can definitely bring it home for them. So I'm gonna have to give it to Sentai.
Well, now I feel kind of like a dick picking against Buujins now. Oh man. Well, I will say,
Yeah, be careful here. You don't have to give away anything, though this will come
I'm
out
not.
on Friday.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, Birder's getting some new tires. We're kind of taking him kind of a different direction slightly, making some adjustments based on what we've seen of him and what we feel like he can do. So he definitely needs some attention, even though what we had him do before was like one of his most, again, which is again very frustrating, his most consistent AI slash build during the testing season. So it's very unfortunate that it just kind of did this, which this kind of typically happens to us. I feel like it's just the growing pains. But yeah, so also I'm not sure about Fasha even being in this match because the next week Cinema has a divisional. I feel like they would want to keep Fasha for the divisional, so I feel like they might bench Fasha against us alone. So again, I have to pick our team because again, That's my team. I want them to win. I would love to taste a win. The last win we ever tasted was the first week of the preseason. I would just like to know what that tastes
Yeah, man, just
like right
siphon a
there.
little bit off cold, man.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, like, they're our employers. I'm sure they wouldn't mind helping us out a bit. Make us happy. Put a little into our 401k. Just say here's a win for you.
Yeah, just
There you
offer them
go.
some Goldo action. I'll tell you, they'll send money over right away. No, but I
And
mean,
that'd be
did you have something to say there, Zim?
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, so I mean, 3-0 for Sentai. You do have a Sentai supporter, but I mean, I think the main strength of Sentai is their willingness to just completely change a build on the fly based on what they see, and that just might be enough to take over the unknown issues cinema has within your characters. So, on to match number 7, we have Cold Kingdom versus GT. This one almost feels unfortunate with how things have started with the season. I have to give it to Cold. I think they've just been going a little too crazy, and with GT kind of just been a little stubborn on their team and waiting for them to come online. I just don't know if that'll happen here. And I think the biggest worry just comes from Raccoon coming back. I mean, he had an amazing week in week 2, so they might have third form freezer or something out here just to get him ready for the next week. But I think it's just going to be hard with Raccoon coming back, and I'm gonna have to give it to Cold here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. While the win for GT is definitely coming up, it's gonna be cool to get it off. Cold has just been very strong, very consistent, and Kum coming in, it's just going to be nasty. So hopefully we still get a really good match, and of course, GT, you're the underdogs here, so if you do win it, then of course we're rooting for you. But prediction-wise, just going off of what we believe can really happen, I'm gonna have to give it to Cold.
Yeah. Again, with my boy Raccoon coming in, I feel like that again. Any of their members, anyone they bench in Cold, I feel like against GT, I feel like it's still going to be a strong lineup against GT. Now, not saying GT can't get a win, but I feel like if they were to get a win, this would really kind of solidify, kind of like, hey, we're better than you think we are. We got things figured out. So this could be a point where they could show us that they've got their stuff figured out, and they can just go up from there. But again, it's going to be tough, especially against Cold. So again, I'm going to give it to Cold, but I do hope GT shows well, and if they can get a win out of it, even better.
Yeah, I think we unfortunately are kind of forced into this 3-0 for Cold, but I mean, as we said before, GT, they might be down on their luck right now, but this could be an upset victory that sets their season on fire. So we'll see what kind of options they are going through right now in the background. So moving on to the last match of the week, we have Derp versus Earth Defenders. I almost wish we could swip it around, have Derp versus GT and Cold versus Earth Defenders to finish off. But this could be a double upset week. Unfortunately, I think for the same reasons, I have to give it to Earth Defenders. I mean, winning with not even having a member step on the field and 2 members just going ham. It's just kind of hard to see Derp, especially when they basically have to have Devilman out here. They're all good characters. It would do damage, but it wouldn't be probably as high as they would want. So, but Hercule is coming back in, so an upset is certainly not as going to be as big of an upset. I think it's a lot more manageable for them. But Earth Defenders just showed with Week 3 that they are back in their preseason form. So I have to give it to Earth Defenders here.
Yeah, when facing Earth Defenders, it's a consistent attack, and as of right now, I don't believe Derp has it. Joro has been kind of iffy. Devilman's kind of been kind of iffy, so those inconsistencies might just be what cost them this match. So if there's anybody but Earth Defenders possibly, but with how consistent Earth Defenders are, I do not see it. But we're cheering for you.
Yeah, I know Derp has a divisional the following week against Cinema, so I mean they could bench Devilman and in preparation of that, because there are again more evil people on Cinema, except for maybe Gogeta, although it might do more damage to Gogeta than some of the other Defender characters. They may not necessarily have to bench Devilman. They could even start him and just not give him Savior if they really wanted to, just to ensure that he can still get his Fork Qs out and do some of the decent good damage. Demon Fork Rush, he does pretty good damage with those, so if they want to change it up, they could do that. But if they're maybe sticking to the era of the safer side of things, they could just do that and save him for their divisional next week. The champ is coming in. You can't discount the champ. And there were times in the preseason he pulled it back around all by himself with like multiple ultimates. Mr. Boo arrives. His present bombs, which very frustrating when you're facing against them because they just happen and you just can't almost never avoid them at all. But again, it is ED. They're very strong. If there's a team to beat ED right now, again, one more time, I feel Derp could do it. But again, based on their performance right now, I'm going to give it to ED. But I do hope Derp puts up a good match, and if the champ is able to clutch it and actually pull a win, then again, great. I'm rooting for Derp.
So I think this is similar to match 7, and an unfortunate 3-0, but we all hope the best. Because honestly, like even though the stats wise and stuff don't look great, I don't think any team's a bad team or a good team. There's natural advantages and disadvantages, but we've seen teams figure out how to make it work in their favor before. And you just never know when someone does something like Scatter Vegeta have really bad weeks and then an incredible week. So hopefully we can see a lot of fun. There's a lot of potential for some crazy matches, especially some crazy upsets this next week. And even though there's only one divisional again, it certainly should be one to keep people very entertained and hopefully talking about for a while. So overall, I think...
I will also say too,
go ahead.
just because this season there was no for problem children on teams, people are kind of forced to deal with their team to figure things out. So that's kind of the growing pains for some teams because you just can't say, well, this character's not doing very good. I'm just going to swap them out right now, put a better character in. So there are a lot of teams that are working with it, others. So, but that's why this makes the season so interesting and dynamic because you're having to work with just that core roster. And so I feel like you're going to have some very entertaining matches, and I feel like that's something that going into the next season, when maybe that is implemented, you may see some other changes as well. But yeah, that's what I wanted to put into that as well.
Oh yeah, no, thank you very much for that commentary. Like we want to hear that when people are coming on. I know Zem probably feels like he talks enough being in commentating and kind of got dragged into this week, so he's kind of just sitting over there, probably has something in his hand he's enjoying. But overall, I think we're hitting a kind of early milestone with 15 weeks. Hitting week number 4 here is certainly like a big moment to kind of set up the rest of your season, maybe turn your luck around, maybe get a build working. So as we saw, it can really happen at any moment. So do you guys have any final remarks to say for the Capsule Cast this week?
No, I think I'm good.
No, unless there's something else that we have additional at the end. I'm pretty sure I've said my piece.
No, I think that's it. We're still, please, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, do whatever you feel. Anything, just watching the video is very helpful for us. If you can leave a comment, we're going to have links to the website and the Discord down below. Please join the Discord. There's a lot of fun going on there. You can join teams. I know Buujins, we have a lot of active supporters. Sentai has plenty of supporters. Every team wants their love. Some teams want more love than others. So please feel free to come in and join. This is a very open community, and we are planning to be around for a while. And as you can tell with how the season's going, anything can happen. New teams can pop up. Teams can just completely change. You never know. So with that, I am signing off for Capsule Cast Week 3. I hope you guys have a great day and a great weekend.